And I got to tell you, first of all, I'm in the string section. So the string section, there's 6 strings to help balance out the staging and also the sound of Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And I'm watching this show from the stage, and I did not understand the show. Like, I'm playing, and it's just like fog, and I can see different colors going on. But what I did understand in San Diego and Los Angeles at the Coliseum was a matinee and an evening show both sold out. Like, I understood the ticket sales. I'm like, something is going on with this band.
Hello, welcome to another episode of 2020. My name is Cory here, as always, with Siobhán Cronin and Benny Goodman. And this week we have an amazing guest. We've dug out of Siobhán's archives, right? This is someone we've been trying to get for a while. Plays with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Shania Twain, Celine Dion, Mr. Roddy Chong.
Yeah, it was so exciting to have him. It's so funny because, initially he was like, oh, I don't really do podcasts. And then the one and only Benny Goodman sold him on the show. So we finally got him to come on, talk about a lot of his amazing stories about getting in with all these amazing rock stars, growing up in the suburbs of Chicago to what he does today. So I won't give away too much of the story. I'm not sure if Ben's participating in this intro, but...
Oh, no, I just like the fact that he was like, you know what? Fuck violin. I'll take 40 grand to talk. That's the biggest inspiration that anyone's ever told me. I'm like, wait a minute. I can parlay this assholery. Like, the reason he can't, this dignitary of a violinist, of a virtuoso, of a savant, of a human being, came on because of my voice, and he gets paid incredulous amounts of money to speak. Tell me more. Listen and subscribe.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 2020. I'm Siobhán Cronin here, as always, very excited to introduce my dear friend, fellow rock star, violinist, amazing person. I've known him for a long time and so happy that he came on. We have the incredible Roddy Chong of Trans-Siberian Orchestra, has played with Shania Twain, Celine Dion, basically every big name you can think of. He is an incredible speaker. He does all sorts of events, very inspirational, and I'm so excited for people to hear his story, and I can't wait to just dive in. Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, everybody.
Yeah. I didn't realize there was more than one violinist in the rock scene. That's a thing, apparently.
Roddy was my inspiration. No, because I was just a little string girl playing in Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Roddy's the one doing all the acrobatics and the lead, and so yeah, I mean, he was kind of like what I looked up to from behind.
I'm just excited the guy from the WWF is playing violin now. I've been liking you since you beat Hogan at WrestleMania 4.
Roddy's
right. Yeah, you can't see his guns with this angle, but Roddy's incredibly strong.
She doesn't even get it because she wasn't alive.
Right,
she doesn't know. That's funny.
I have a kilt. I'm wearing a kilt right now.
Okay, perfect.
Roddy Piper. Look it up, Siobhán.
Okay, I definitely will. So anyway, welcome to the show. And, usually the first episode, part 1 for everyone that's tuning in, that's kind of when we get to know you. So I think we'll just dive in since you're new to my 2 friends here, my co-hosts. The 3 of us are in a project together called Lost Symphony. So we do some symphonic instrumental metal stuff. And maybe just for us and for the listeners, can you tell us a little bit about where you grew up, how you got into music, how things got started for you?
Me?
Yeah, of course.
No one cares about us.
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, a place called Schaumburg, Illinois. So,
Schaumburg!
Yes, Schaumburg, Chicago. So I started violin at age 2, and my parents say that I chose it, but I don't think I did. I don't know how I could have. My niece did choose it when she was 2, but that was because she was watching me, and I could kind of see how she kind of chose it, but I don't know about me choosing it. And then I kind of had to practice. That's something I say in my speaking events. I grew up in a Chinese American household, and in a Chinese American household, you have 2 choices: piano or violin. Right?
Sure. As was the case with most of my friends growing up. Yeah. I'm familiar.
And my sister got piano, I got violin, and then I had to practice like 20 minutes a day, which I thought was really terrible. Like, it took a long time.
At that age, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And that would be like maybe 5 or 6 days a week. But I say that because sometimes people talk about like Tiger Mom or Asians and that 6-hour practicing, and that really wasn't my life. I mean, I would just break out the back door and throw a ball around or something. But so yeah, that's how it started. It was Suzuki, and all those kids also were my friends. But I mean, I thought I was totally dorky growing up. You know, like my other friends were playing soccer and stuff, and I wanted to do those things more. But this was my lot in life, and I mean, I'm very thankful now. But at the time, I was like, this is so not cool. What's happening to me? And so my mom and I were always like fighting.
Yeah.
She says, I pushed you, but I didn't force you. So I don't, you know.
What?
Did your mom
What's
ever
the
have a
difference?
moment with you where she like put you in a corner and said, I didn't raise a quitter? My mom did that to me, and she chose
Well, you
to
had
be a
the Jewish
Jew.
mother thing.
No,
yeah.
no, but here's the thing: she's a convert, so she was actually Greek Orthodox that chose to be a Jew. So she actually chose to be a Jewish mother. So like, just like you chose the violin, she
Right.
chose to be that way.
Right. There was a time, I think I was like 10, where I mustered up my voice to be like, I want to quit, like hesitating and trembling. And my mom didn't really say anything. She like just kind of used the force or something, but she was just kind of playing it. And she just kind of said, okay, well, let's take a break for a little while and then you can finish your practice. And she's like, I'm like, did you not hear me? I want to quit. So, but yeah, so I like, she did a great job because, and she told me later, she would like kind of push me to the edge of where I was going crazy and she would back off.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean,
I love how you just
really
laughed
cool.
like ha 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 ha, like you just got like an electric stimulus to your brain.
No, I totally relate to this though. So it's like, yeah, just enough for like when they back off, you're like, wait, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
What's happening?
That's how they keep you.
They're like, this is
roped in.
neuro-linguistic programming technique.
Yeah, there's all kinds of techniques. I was being indoctrinated. But yeah, you know, but sometimes I'd be practicing. It's funny because I knew what to practice. Like I had friends that would record their practices and then play the recording so that they're tricking their parents. But I'd be playing
That's a good one.
whatever I'm supposed to play, but I would have like my earbuds in and I'd be listening to like Ozzy and stuff like that. Or I'd be kind of playing along with it and trying to just do what I thought was cool. So that's how I was practicing from age 2 to like 17. This was my life. So
Yeah. Did
and
your
then-
parents or did your mom know about your interest in other type of music? Like, did you have to hide that from them a little bit, or was it?
No, they were. I remember once my friends got me like an Asia album, the Asia one, and then Ozzy, Blizzard of Oz, and my mom didn't overreact, but she's just like, the Asia one, you can keep that one. We're gonna trade this the upside down cross one of Ozzy crawling, you know, and then I think we traded that in for like a Journey album or something. So I mean, I don't.
Still
It
cool.
was, yeah, it was about like she was just kind of in there. You know, my same friends once they bought me a slingshot with a bunch of like metal BB balls or whatever, and she's like, "We're going to trade this in for something else too." You know?
Very practical.
Yeah, so and it was funny. I keep talking about my mom because my dad was kind of quiet the whole time. So probably the wisest one of.
He was a philosopher.
But later on, he helped me a lot with business and my initial contracts of trying to do anything, trying to make money. My dad became more involved with that. But that's how I grew up. And went to an academy, a violin academy in Arlington Heights. It was called the Betty Haig Academy of Performing Arts. So a bunch of violinists. And what's wild is that I stopped like my junior year of high school, and I just didn't think I would ever play it again. But and then other kids were better than me, and they were going on to play in college and get their masters and everything. But I never touched the instrument in college. So I was trying other things. Like I got a guitar and I was trying to play rock music, and I had a guitar teacher, and because that's what was cool. But really, I wasn't as good as everybody else. But no, I learned how to play all my favorite songs. Like whatever, Dokken, White Lion, all these songs on guitar. And, you know, I did play like rhythm chords and stuff like that with Shania, which was like that's part of what I want to share as far as the learning lessons. Everything that we're doing as younger people, everything that we're doing all kind of somehow can be used later. And so that all my wanting to be like some great guitar guy, and I really kind of sucked. But that came in later because then I was able to also play a little mandolin or something, you know, like a little bit of guitar, and then just really work on it. And it was kind of neat to see other things just kind of come back and be useful.
Yeah, that's something that so many people on the podcast have said, that like you have to always kind of follow your interests and diversify, because they do kind of synthesize, you know, in the long run, and you end up using things unexpectedly, you know, at different points in your career.
Like,
so it's great.
Yeah, because I took some time off from the violin in college and learned a little Randy Rhoads. I got to make the face on stage behind Shania for a song. She's like, "Can you play guitar? You can play Paganini on the violin. You gotta be able to play Bush, right?" You're like, "Not very well." And then you go back and you play Charlie Daniels like nobody's business. And Siobhán's like, "That's not even hard."
I think it's hard.
Everything is hard if you're trying to do it well. I mean, even, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was, well, even in college, like I got involved with dance, choreography, and musical production. So that, it did get a little problematic where I actually kind of thought I was like a Renaissance man. I'm good at everything, and it gets to be problematic. I mean, it can show up later, but you do kind of need to focus on a couple things.
Sure.
Like to now, I am a rock violinist for Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and then I'm a speaker. I use the violin, but I'm a corporate speaker. But if I was also still saying, well, I'm also acting and I'm a dancer, and it's like nobody knows.
Okay, I have to ask you the same question. So I bring it all back to Zoolander. Again, I've said this on previous podcasts. Fabio goes on stage and he accepts the award and he goes, "I'd like to say thank you that I'm your favorite actor/model and not the other way around." What would the slash be first? Would you be a rock violinist? Would you be a guitar? Like, what comes first before the slash?
Great question, because it can go either way. I mean, I put speaker first because the violin is so obvious.
Really?
Yeah, I put speaker first, but that's a bit strategic. And that's what I like about your podcast. It's a little bit longer. I can explain things. And I think I told Siobhán, like, I've done a bunch of podcasts. I don't want to do them. And part of it was like, there was either like some marketing thing I had to do, or I had to, or it was like so quick. We're just looking for bullet points. There wasn't a chance to make a mistake and then recover. It's just like, you just had to be like, kind of do all the say all the right things. And so I'm not going to say, obviously I said
never been accused of that ever on this podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say there's so many mistakes, it'd be hard to stand out, to be honest.
Corey gets paid more as an editor than for anything else that he does in his life.
Editor / host.
Right, well, we all have
bass player.
So Benny just said a great question, you know, which would come first. So I put speaker first because it's a strategy thing. If you put violin first, people go, "I know a violinist, saw that violinist at church, at a wedding. He's like $200.
Yeah.
You know? But if you're a speaker,
it's a really good point.
It's not right, but it's how it works. If you're a speaker, it's like $25,000. And it doesn't make any sense to me as a musician, but I found that out real fast. You'll see.
I was gonna say that's totally true, because we did the DJ thing. Because I'm a DJ for weddings and stuff,
right.
And I always say, what's the difference between someone who gets $1,000 and $10,000 at a wedding? Someone asked for $10,000. And like, Cory's been paid more money to not play songs than if he goes and plays for like 5 hours at like Wagon Wheel on repeat, because we're doing a different type of thing.
I don't think
so
I'd get
how people
paid
perceive
very much
you.
if I just played Wagon Wheel on repeat, by the way. I think I'd be asked to leave pretty quickly. So just because it's a little different than what we've heard in our 100+ episodes, How does one just become a speaker?
I guess it's okay. We're just going to bounce around all over. The story's not going to go necessarily.
Oh yeah, that always happens.
Have you heard this?
Yeah, I don't want to kill your flow, but at the same time, that just jumps out to me. Like, we understand violinists. Like, we got that. That makes sense to us. Speaker is something a little more unique. I'd love to hear how one gets into that.
Okay,
Are
so
you like a mid-range speaker? Are you like a dome tweeter? Are you titanium?
As far as what are you talking about? The musical spectrum?
He's asking if you're a
You mean like
subwoofer.
somebody?
yeah,
Oh, wait,
I think
you're
he's
talking about
making
you're
it.
Actually,
Okay,
yeah,
Ben.
doing a double
Ben.
entendre.
Yeah.
The
All right.
E silent.
We've now
Triple
given him like
entendre.
5 questions, and we don't even know where to go from here.
Yes.
Well, you were making a good point. If you don't want to jump around, you were making a good point about how the title can sometimes hint or tell people what your value is, which is, I totally understand. I mean, I encounter this as a violinist all the time, where it's like, I'll talk to people about private events, and, a lot of times I'll get this thing like, oh, I know what a violinist costs. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, people are at varying levels of demand. They have various skills, but it's a little bit harder to kind of separate yourself on that spectrum, because if you have that label, somebody that doesn't understand that is going to just say, all right, well, this is just a substitutable thing, and it isn't always the case.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole concept, whether we're just talking about speaking or DJing or using a musical instrument, where you have to show more value. And, I wasn't necessarily good at it. I've learned how to do that. And I had things around me that were showing that I had a lot of value, but I didn't really know how to own it. So I'm better at it now, but completely still learning. But what happened with speaking was I was on tour with Shania Twain in Australia, and I do play blackjack every once in a while, and I was playing blackjack, Gold Coast, was that Adelaide or something like that? I was in Australia, and there was a guy next to me, and he needed $50 to get on the train to go home. And I was up like $50. So I gave him the 50. I said, we're playing with house money. You go ahead and, if you win, you get your money. If you don't win, that's fine. I'll just keep playing. So he won his money and he left, and we exchanged information. His name was Mike Smallbone, and Mike ended up getting a green card and moved to Nashville, Tennessee. And he was working as an agent for a speakers bureau called Premier Speakers. And so I spoke at an arts conference for the very first time about 15 years ago. And I remember they called me and asked, we would like you to speak at our thing. And I was like, I don't speak, because I thought that was like politicians. I was like, but I'll play. And they were kind of like, well, it's all expenses paid. We're going to pay you like $4,000 or something, which to me was like way more than anything that's normal for a musician. I'm like, so I'm going to go. I'm going to do this thing, and I had to do it 4 times, and I had my speech all written out. I had all these pages, and so I'm like going through my story, and anyone who writes or tries to speak with your notes. A couple things is, whatever you think is so great that you're going to unleash upon an audience when you're sitting at your desk sometimes doesn't work with the actual people. And that was happening. And then things that I didn't think were that funny or important, people were reacting really big to. So I was using my paper and was like shaking because I was nervous. And then I had to do it 4 times. So the second time, the guy that hired me, he said, okay, all that stuff you're talking about in the beginning about being Asian and all how you're growing up that way and trying to make all those jokes, he's like, cut that out. Get right to the part where you get fired from Jars of Clay. So I'll explain that later, but he's like, because that's where everyone just leaned forward. So I'm like, so the second time I skipped all the beginning stuff I was saying, and I got to this part where I got fired from my first job band, which was Jars of Clay. And then the third time, he's just like, I think it's time for you to get rid of these notes. And I really needed them. It was like my security. So, but then I got rid of them, and he was right. Like, I could kind of feel I was interacting with the audience more, and that was kind of how I already interacted with the audience with my violin playing. And so at the end of it, like, I would get big responses from this audience. People were crying sometimes with the difficult things I shared, and standing ovation at the end. And the guy actually recorded it and sent the DVD to this place called Premier Speakers, and just said this guy did a real good job at our conference. And so Mike Smallbone, that guy that I was playing blackjack with, was in that office. Said, I know this guy. And that's what,
Jeez.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh man.
He called me up. He's like, you should do speaking. And I'm totally scared. Like, I'm like, I don't, but the money was just so much bigger than what I was experiencing with music. So they flew me in and I performed in their office. It was very, like, everything's ornate, and there's like marble and like waterfalls inside of this agency. And so I played and I shared my story. And then at the end, I thought I had to be like an expert or some kind of an author or something. So I said, there's this whole teaching part about the performing arts. I don't have it crystallized yet. I remember I used the word crystallized to try to sound intelligent. Like, I don't have it crystallized yet, but I will, and I'll show you later. And the president of the company, Dwayne, he said, well, you can show us that, but all we care about is humor and story, and you have both, and so we're going to start booking you out. So that's how speaking started, and I'm not exclusive with Premier, but I do work with them. But 80% of what I book speaking-wise is on my own, and but it is a hybrid. I do play violin beginning, middle, and end of the speaking event. So the only other person, I know other musicians are kind of doing it, but the only other person that I know that's doing it kind of well, that is getting big responses, and I haven't seen him speak, but is the drummer Kenny Aronoff. You know him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love Kenny.
Yeah, he's speaking. He's out there. So I need to see what he does as a speaker. We compare notes though. We've talked about it just as people in Los Angeles just talking. And what's funny is that he curses a lot during his thing, and I don't curse at all. And he was like, man, because he's mad because he's like, this is just who I am. And but he's like, but you're gonna get hired more, because they the corporations kind of need that a little bit of a cleaner, a little bit of a filtered kind of a presentation. But that's how I got into speaking, was because of touring and being social and extroverted and a bit of luck. So
that's an amazing story, and it just proves that you're so down to like go on an adventure and be bold with something, which it requires that too, because you have to, it was something outside of your comfort zone, and a lot of people at that point would have been like, nah, it doesn't matter how much it pays, I just don't want to speak in front of people. Or when the notes were taken away, that was another chance to be like, nah, I just don't want to do that. But you just rolled with it, and that's amazing. Like, that's so inspiring that, Yeah,
I definitely felt tons of nerves, and then still tried to do it anyway, and then made somewhat of a hesitating, awkward, but going for it kind of person in front of a live audience, which is, it's pretty hard, but but then that's how we grow, right? I was going to say that my speaking now is a lot better, but that's because at the same time this was happening, I went to a major acting school. That one was called the Baron Brown Academy of Performing Arts in Santa Monica. So it's like a Meisner. So I'd already toured with Shania, Celine, and some other country people, Lone Star, Shadazy, and Jessica Andrews. And then I moved to California because I had done some acting things in Chicago, and I thought I want to do more. And so I joined this acting school, and we were doing what's called superlatives. So a superlative is something that you can act, and then you have to do this in front of your peers, and like for instance, you can act a personality. So my example for this with the speaking thing is I did my most Tony Robbins. So a superlative of Tony Robbins is you're acting like Tony Robbins, you're saying Tony Robbinisms, and you're going for it, and you think that you're the biggest and most super Tony Robbins being that you could be, and the teacher's like, more, we need more. We can't even tell that anything is going on. You look like Roddy up there. You don't seem like you're the motivational speaker Tony Robbins. So I'm like going bigger and bigger. I think I'm a complete clown. But the class afterwards were like, "You're really good at that." I mean, but I'd also listened to a ton of Tony Robbins, so
Yeah.
so then I started like incorporating some of this, like just do more and be bigger. And to me, it would feel like I'm being like way outlandish, but I could tell the audience is like, finally something a little more lively than a stifled expert up there that's kind of boring us, you know? And so this same technique is actually what I used in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra audition.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah, that one I used most enthusiastic. So backing up just a little bit is that I had moved to California and like I'm just trying to meet people in California. So I went to this place called Molly Malone's, and a musician friend took me there to see a performer named Reeve Carney. Have you guys heard of Reeve Carney? So
I haven't.
The name sounds really familiar.
He's a guitar player, blues guy. I think he played for John Mayer at a point. But he was Spider-Man on Broadway.
Okay.
So that, and then he's one of the leads for Hadestown. So I think they won a Tony for something. Anyway, so Reeve was there, and what Reeve is so good. They're just an incredible artist that he brought all these actor, singer, management agent types to his performances. And I met a cello player there, and she was putting together she was subcontracting, so putting together the string section for Trans-Siberian Orchestra for San Diego and Los Angeles, and the violinist that was in her group bailed. And I had met her at the Reeve Carney concert, and I actually have a business card, I still do, and so we exchanged physical business cards. So now I do phone and business card, because you got the phone so you can kind of interact, but the business card still is kind of, it shows up and it can kind of be kind of something to, I try to get other people's business cards actually so that I can stalk them more.
I have one too still, yeah.
Yeah. But that one worked, and she had me come out and pinch hit for this person that had quit. It's really interesting because Siobhán understands that, but I think you guys would also understand just kind of how musicians can be sometimes. But string players can be, what's the word?
All sorts of words. I can't.
Yeah.
If I have to, flighty, unpredictable.
String players are interesting because rock music players have to be in a band, so you have to get along even if you're fighting.
Yeah.
Well, string players are practicing by themselves, and then they're also trained to audition and try to beat the person in front of them. So it's a bit, people get really
competitive.
Competitive, and their insecurities come out in really odd ways. So I'm a mixture.
Yeah.
Like, I'm super social, and I want to be liked. I like people. I'm an extrovert, and so I walked into the situation, but they were already kind of a clique. They already kind of knew each other, and I could just feel it. They were sizing me up. It was so.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, it
Fourth
happens all the
grade.
time. Yeah.
And I was
Classic.
I was thrown into this thing. It's like, okay, I gotta like play 27 pieces. I know them kind of, but I haven't really seen them. So I'm like feverishly practicing in the corner, and they're hanging out, being all cool. And I'm gonna say something because this is literally what happened. So I'm in catering, and I'm trying to sit with the group that knows each other. And this does reveal who she is. I'm not going to say her name, but because she's totally fine too. But this is what she said to me. She goes, "I just got off the road with Kanye West. What have you done?" It was so stupid. I'm just like, I'm with my food, and I'm just like, I just left because I'm just like, I'm not going to try to qualify myself to these.
Did you think to yourself, I want to be all by myself? You hit that note? Can you hit it? You know what I'm talking about, that one note?
The one note.
That note.
Siobhán could do that one.
The note.
Yeah, that
the
note.
Celine note.
That note's awesome. That you can pay.
That made David Foster's career, man.
That note actually is killer. at the Vegas.
What's that like being behind Celine Dion? Because
Wait, Ben, let him finish his story. We're derailing him because he's in the middle of his Trans-Siberian.
I love Celine Dion.
Okay.
Yeah, Celine is the greatest. So I did. I took my food. And I kind of went to go somewhere else to be by myself. And but there was a long-haired dude kind of walking, and he was kind of going to the same place. I think he also was trying to kind of
be by himself.
And we just both sat down at this table that was like far away from everybody else. And he must have heard. He's like, "So I heard you toured with Shania Twain. Did you ever meet Mutt Lange?" And I said, "I worked with Mutt Lange a lot." So then he's like asking me all these questions about Mutt Lange. So that was Al Pitrelli. Al Pitrelli is one of the music directors of Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So Benny, why are you laughing? Why you got that smile?
Oh, just because Al Pitrelli is also the guitarist that plays in Megadeth from Dread of the Fugitive Mind, as if I don't know who Al Pitrelli is.
I knew he was
from
nerding out while you were saying that. Yeah.
Whatever. Go on about the guy from New York that smells like cigarettes and plays awesome guitar.
That's right. Yeah, and so Al and I were getting along and talking and traded business cards. And I didn't know. I was so new to this organization. I didn't know what I was supposed to. I was just kind of being pushed by and those string players are fine. That's how I perceived it. They would probably be like, I have no idea what that guy's talking about, But that's what happened. It kind of just pushed me, and then Al, so I had his card, and I got to tell you, first of all, I'm in the string section. So the string section, there's 6 strings to help balance out the staging and also the sound of Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And I'm watching this show from the stage, and I did not understand the show. Like I'm playing, and it's just like fog, and I can see different colors going on. But what I did understand in San Diego and Los Angeles at the Coliseum was a matinee and an evening show both sold out. Like I understood the ticket sales. I'm like, something is going on with this band that it's like totally to the rafters, the people that are enjoying this show.
It's a wild view. Yeah, it really is.
But I think it's a better view from the audience because while you're up there, you're just trying to hang on and play. And
yeah.
So I called Al Pitrelli. I was very nervous, I'm sure. I'm always nervous, even now. I'm calling things, trying to make things happen. I'm always nervous, but I'm just like, just pick up the darn phone. I have little sayings like there's, just now is the right time. So, unprepared, you just do it. So, and I got his answering machine, I remember first, and I'm like leaving terrible messages that I'm saying, and not really sure what to do. But one time his son picked up, and then I had also sent like a holiday card. Thank you for having me perform with you. And so I'm just doing all this follow-up. And I don't know which reach out landed, but they were doing a brainstorming. I heard about it later. They were doing a brainstorm about how to make Trans-Siberian Orchestra bigger and better. And so Al's like, why don't we have Roddy audition first and see what he can do, and then let's have maybe 2 violinists running around, just like we had 2 guitars running around. So that was the idea. And so they had me audition. So I kind of forgot exactly where we were in the story, but so that's where I used the superlative of being my most enthusiastic in the audition. And because I had seen from the string section that this was a rambunctious, over-the-top, 80s rock kind of a show. And so I had my beaming smile. I'm playing Flight of the Bumblebee and Mozart's Figaro, and not where I'm jumping off the console, but I was like, I'm going to move around this thing. And the acting school trained us, whatever your superlative is, just do that one note and play it really hard and just drill it through the decision maker's forehead. And so that's what I was trying to do. And Paul O'Neill, who is the creator and the producer of Trans-Siberian Orchestra, was there, and it worked. And he stood up, he took off his leather jacket, and he's like swinging around, and he spikes it, and he just insisted that I joined Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So that was one of the biggest yeses I've ever received. And so that was 15, 16 years ago. So pretty happy with what happened.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. And for anyone that hasn't seen you perform live, I mean, you definitely are the example of a superlative in action. Like every jump is super high and every motion is super, accentuated. And like, you're totally right. Like I learned so much about playing rock music, just the demonstration of it from watching you, like just being on stage, and how much energy you really have to put out there. And one of the things that I tell a lot of people that actually you told me, and you might not even remember, but especially now when we're touring and it's like, the end of the tour and everyone's exhausted, and it's like one person in the band will be like, oh, I just don't really feel like it today. And I always tell them what you told me, that you have to give every audience the same show, no matter how tired you are. Every audience deserves to get the most energetic version of yourself, whether it's the first show, the last show, or any show in between. And I think about you all the time when I tell people that, because I'm like, that's something Roddy said to me.
That's funny you say that, because I remember seeing Henry Rollins years ago. One of my favorite things he said is, you fly everywhere around the world, do all this, and what you gotta do is you gotta remember the last time you got a good night's sleep, and that you weren't like hungover, you hadn't been in 3 countries in 6 days and in 7 airports, and pretend to be like that.
Yeah.
And then like moments, like 10 seconds of silence. Like he was accessing that part of his brain that remembered the last time he had restorative sleep. But like, I get it. Like you gotta do that. And you know what? I could tell just by the way he smiled. Like he's working the room. There's no room, dude. We're on Zoom. He's working the Zoom call. Like he's like eyeing us all. I love this guy. Like literally, dude. Because I always say it's true. Is that your energy transfers. Your energy. Like I was looking at Cory, I'm like, dude, are we gonna do this? Like we were talking to Bumblefoot from Asia. He sang for Asia, just so you know. Bumblefoot this morning. I'm like, who's this guy? And I Google you and I'm like, okay, he's pretty big. And then Kevin Costner, Celine Dion, Shania Twain. My first thought, like Al Pitrelli, was, so he must have heard of Mutt Lange. Can you tell me about dude? Like, how did I not know about you? Siobhán, has so many friends that are so cool, and she keeps them all from us. Siobhán, why are you doing this?
I'm not. This is the story. I tried, and now we finally got Roddy.
This was the time, right? This was the time. Like, with no, you said it earlier. Don't even pretend. This is the time. Just do it now.
Just do it now.
But the most important thing is, so tell us about Mutt Lange.
Yeah, Mutt Lange.
That's what I was.
Was Def Leppard there?
Yeah, I mean, this is the place to do it. Like, I don't get to talk about Mutt Lange. I think that people, because of what's been kind of put out there, is totally not about music. Yeah, so I did my Shania Twain audition for Mutt Lange. Like, people don't understand that I didn't. I mean, Shania was there too, but I had to pass the music audition, which was with Mutt. Now, I was fortunate that I did not know who Mutt was when I went to the audition. I saw like a guy with a Hawaiian shirt on and bare feet. He had an accent, which I found out was a South African accent, and he was the nicest guy ever. I'm like, this guy's so cool. Like you said, energy transfers. His energy transferred to me. I'm like, I'm with a really cool guy. I think this is my people. So I was totally relaxed, and I'm like playing what he wants me to play. And the actual audition, he said, do you have the song Don't Be Stupid prepared? And I had prepared that song. There's a fiddle solo. And he said, what version do you have? And I'm like, I have the version from the UCD store down the street. And he's like, well, we are playing the international version. So you need to play and I had no idea what he was talking about. So I heard they played it for me, and it was just the same song, but all cut and pasted. The parts were all different. So that was really scary. But in my audition, the power went out right then. Yeah. No sound, no lights. It was like boom. And I found a battery-operated jam box and put the CD in there of this international version. I had like a legal pad and just mapped it out, ABC or BBCA. And when the power came back up, like maybe 45 minutes later, it gave me, I was kind of like, they just want me to play it this new way. And I just stared at it and played it. So that was, I don't even know what to say about that. Super fortunate. So that's two things going for me. I didn't know at the time who Mutt was, and I had a very fortunate power outage when I needed it. And then a third thing happened in that audition that really helped me. Now, believe me, I've done a ton of auditions that everything went against me and I walked away. But this one was just, I forget about those. I remember the good ones, right? But the third thing was after I played the international version of Don't Be Stupid, Shania's like, do you have the song prepared? Again, no one told me about a song that I'm supposed to sing, apparently, that I'm supposed to have already known. And so innocently, like not knowing, just letting whatever random thought come out of my mouth, I was like, could I have 5 minutes, thinking I could learn this whole song in 5 minutes? And she was kind of annoyed a little bit and was in her, that ping went out there and then she received it and was like, let's just call lunch. And I'm just like, yes. so they all went to lunch, and I found their exercise room, and I was like pedaling on a bike and, just trying to me, trying to get whatever kind of vocal exercises I could get going. And so she sang the melody of the song, and I'm like singing the harmony, which is like a little bit higher. And but I had an hour to figure this out, and she just said, you have a real nice presence to your voice. And I'm just like, everyone's just saying positive things. I think I'm kind of in. I didn't know. But, once we were rehearsing, I remember a couple things about Mutt Lange. There was one time, there was the keyboard player, his name is Hardy, and he was playing his keys. And I'm going to try to do a Mutt Lange impersonation here. He's just like, Hardy, is there something wrong with your keyboard? And Hardy's doing all this playing, just like totally doing like amazing. And we can't hear anything. He's like, oh, sounds fine, sounds good, Mutt. Mutt's like, Hardy, I think there's something wrong with your keyboard. And he's playing, every note, it's doing great. And like the next day that keyboard broke. It's just like, just shows that he heard things that we couldn't hear.
He's like the final destination.
A sixth sense for things that are about to
never
break.
Never have him come to your studio. I feel like your Neumann U47 is going to have a bad capsule.
That's right.
Thanks, Mutt. You ruined my whole summer.
Now, can you imagine being a drummer and auditioning for Mutt Lange? I mean, that would be so... like just nerve-wracking. And there was a drummer that's just playing JD Blair and he's doing his thing. I mean, I like the guy that's twirling the sticks. Okay, that shows how much I know. So if this some guy's like twirling his sticks and just doing all the theatrics, I'm like, that guy's awesome, So JD comes in and he's just kind of doing something that seems to me so boring, and he's not doing the theatrics. And then Mutt goes, so when did you know that you were good? and I mean, if that's also not like just a huge vote of yes, and we're all just like, you are the man.
You want to know the truth is, as far as drummers, and Paul Lorenzo, who plays in Lost Symphony with us, is a perfect example of this. He plays so effortlessly that he looks like he's going to fall asleep. And one time I said to him, hey man, like, why don't you make any faces? And he goes, what faces do you want me to make? And then he started like trying to make faces. And then finally his band gave him an LED mask, so you don't even see his face. So they just put his face on with an LED app. But that said, like when he plays, it's so effortless that like when I listen to it in the studio, I'm like, holy shit!
He looks like he's
animal.
He looks like he's doing his taxes while he like is doing the craziest face.
Yeah,
he's like literally ordering his Dunkin' Donuts on his app and doing all like, and he looks disinterested. But then when you listen to it, it sounds like Dad hated me.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I mean it's true though, right? So like certain musicians. They like I have a lot of theatrics, right? Sometimes that my intonation in time suffers as a result of me trying to be David Lee Roth. I'm not even a singer. Like all that stuff Siobhán's talking about is completely David Lee Roth influenced. Like, and I'm still.
I was going to ask you that.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Like the David Lee Roth of Violin, and I really wish I had gone for it because you know this as a speaker. I wish I had gone for it because I would have totally landed that with you.
Yeah,
I didn't know. That's awesome. Like, we talking like not current David Lee Roth, like back in the day when David Lee Roth was hot and could bang your girlfriend, David Lee Roth, right? That Roth.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Splits and all, yeah. I still believe that version is still happening. So I'm in denial a little bit, but
he is too. That's weird.
But yes. Completely influenced by David Lee Roth's jumps and but you know, something that happened, I remember with Mutt Lange. So they're like, what else do you do besides violin, fiddle, and can you play guitar, you know, can you play mandolin? And then we're gonna have you sing, but you needed to sing with some raspiness. So that was amazing, you know, for me to learn how to sing background vocals from Mutt Lange, because I'd been hearing Mutt Lange's background vocals on Def Leppard forever, you know, and some of it was zany and outlandish, you know, like just how you think you would sing something that would make sense is not how we're necessarily supposed to sing it so that it would sound good. So the background vocal thing was just such a privilege to even try and to learn from Mutt how to sing these background vocals, or even to say like, yeah, you know, yay or hey or yeah. There's how many different ways to say yeah, you know, and so we're doing this in these shows. And then also like, he's like, okay, so you're going to play guitar in these 3 songs. So I'm playing them and he's looking at me and he's like, you're completely out of time, man. You're completely out of time. So for 1 hour every day during rehearsals, he would have me sit in a room and have a click track with the song and just hit my leg. So no playing. And I'm thinking I'm in time the whole time. So that's a problem because he's saying I'm completely out of time. So I don't even know what in time or out of time is, because I'm out of time apparently, and I thought I was in time. So I just kept trying, you know, and thankfully they didn't kick me out. They just, you know, I guess I improved. But
well, let me ask you this. You play the violin, and I've noticed this because I'm a pianist. And I mean, not next to Siobhán, who says she's not a pianist, but she's a better pianist than I am. But when I play piano and I go back to like quantize things, I'm always pleasantly surprised. Like, oh, that was actually very close to the beat. Whereas when I play guitar, I'm like, oh, that's horrible. That's horrifyingly bad. Ask Cory. Like, when I play piano, he's like, oh, you got it. No, that's fine. We can work with that. I'm like, we can? But anytime I play guitar or sing, he's like, I don't know if we got that word. We had to probably redo the entire thing.
That is a euphemism.
Do you feel like with violin, you have better timing, like by Mutt Lange standards, than, let's say, guitar, and that you had to, they're different, like almost like different languages to you?
I just have always had a tendency to rush. So I know to lay back, then I kind of feel something where I'm at least relatively in time. But with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, we do have like a click kind of going and keeps us all pretty locked in. But yeah, I learned that from Mutt. You know, I learned what being in time or just being a hair behind the beat, how that helps the song. I did ask him when you produced Back in Black. I remember the way I'm talking right now is how I talked to him. I'm like, I was like always around him, like, you are a god. I don't know how to talk to you. You know? And I was like, literally what just happened is how I said it to him, because I'm like, am I allowed to talk to him about Back in Black, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what did you do to make that album sound so great, you know? And he goes, to be honest, I just hit record. He's like, I might have tweaked a couple things. He goes, AC/DC is the best rock band of all time. So
he's not wrong.
I didn't know. He's just like, they were so rehearsed, they didn't need a click track. And he's all about timing, right? He's like, We're in time with no click track.
Remember how you said focus? They learned 3 chords. And they rode that all the way to the if you listen to Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, it's the same as She's Got the Jack. It's the same as literally it's all the same. And it was when I was maybe 33 years old when I realized that's the genius part. Because you hear Dream Theater and you're like, maybe they could play in 17. But then you realize AC/DC has taken the same 3 chords and somehow made us all as consumers.
Well, they move the rests around, and that's how you get the magic.
It's kind of like modes, right? You just move one note to the end. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's what he said to me. I couldn't believe it. I thought he had to do some twisting of the knobs or something. I'm sure he did, but it does sonically sound really big. So that's what I learned from Mutt also, is this, like, you listen to Hysteria or Pyromania in your car, it just sounds louder than other albums, and that's what he did. He made these things sound arena rock huge, stadium rock huge, so the bigger the better. So big privilege to work with
my
Mutt
favorite
Lange.
Mutt Lange imitation is from the Def Leppard movie from the 90s on MTV or VH1. You remember that?
Kind of, yeah.
And they're sitting there and they're doing the first record. And I don't know if it was High and Dry. Maybe it was Hysteria, the first one they did with Mutt. And he kept going, higher. No, I can't sing it. Higher. And then he's like, listening. Well, I'm fucking listening. Well, I'm fucking listening. And for years, every time my brother would get mad at me in the studio, he'd be like, listening. And then he'd put his finger, listening. So forever, Mutt Lange has been in my head. Because every single time, like, I've done something wrong, it's just listening.
Yes, there's some truth to that. I never heard him say listening because he didn't want to listen to me or something. But what he
was listening back.
Yeah. He would say just one more in various ways. One more, and again, please. One more time. I mean, we were talking for days.
Cory's laughing because that's literally his MO. Oh, just one more time. No, you got this. One more. You're getting it now. Now just sing it in time and in the right key and the song.
Hey,
you got this.
If it works for Mutt, I'll steal it all day.
And you know that he was actually mixing the sound in the arena. So could you imagine just the privilege of going to an arena, but nobody knew because he's just so quiet about it. He would have 2 guys at the board, but he's literally behind him, putting on the pressure. This is what we need to make it sonically sound.
I would be terrified to be those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck that. Like Mutt's like, this doesn't sound compressed. Like, I'm out of here, man. Fuck Shania. Fuck you.
That's more pressure than the musicians. Jeez. Engineering in front of Mutt. That's gonna be crazy.
Well, let me ask you this: you play with a lot of big divas. You have Celine Dion, who's like literally, in my opinion, one of the greatest voices of all time. We have Shania Twain, and then we have Kevin Costner. Who's the biggest diva of them all?
Diva as in great, or diva as in
when they walk in the room, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe the gown.
Like star power.
Yeah.
Star power is Celine Dion all day.
Really? She just demands it.
Demands it, commands it, has it.
Yeah.
She, and I'll just say one example. I mean, Shania Twain is the most important artist to my personal life, who picked me out of obscurity and put me on a rocket ship that took off. So, I mean, I'd love to, but we're talking about the biggest diva.
No, for real.
Just one. So we did 2 sold-out shows at, I think they called it Wembley Arena.
You mean where Queen played? You mean like the Freddie Mercury Wembley Live '86, the biggest show of my love?
You did good. You jumped on the improv, and so do that. Don't hold back. But I'm getting to that point. I'm not there yet. So we did 2 sold-out arenas in Wembley Arena with Shania, and I thought this is huge, as everything with Shania was huge, until I realized across the street at Wembley Stadium, Celine sold that out twice. So we had 2 15,000-seat arenas sold out, and Celine had 2 80,000 seat stadiums sold out. So it just shows Celine Stadium, same thing. Celine's star power around the world is ginormous, big. Now North America, Shania Twain is huge, but internationally, and and look, she's also one of my favorite voices, and there's a lot of great voices, but Celine is protected, or somehow she's still going and still singing. You can see her show if you sit near the front and she's off to the side. She's still singing and goofing around, and it's perfect. And who knows, she's just a true singer. She's just going for it. And I'm just like, how can she do all that? But she's doing all the techniques and doing it right.
Well, you go see her. She's one of those people. And I honestly, I don't want to sound insulting, but Alanis Morissette was the most recent example of this for me, where you go and see them and you're just like, oh, wow. I didn't even... Because you could hear from the stage, over the PA system, like a Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden. Whether you love his voice or not, you're like, holy shit, that guy's 97 years old, running around with the British flag. He's beating up a zombie, and he's still flying a plane with an endangered turtle. Celine Dion is running around instead of Meatloaf through singing Jim Steinman's 7-minute songs, just owning it, falling off the Titanic. And her voice is so damn good that every time as a grown man I watch a whole special, I can't help but go to the bathroom and wipe off my eyes from crying because she's so fucking stupid good. I can't help myself. I literally can't not cry when I watch Celine Dion for at least 60 minutes. That's true. That's a fucking goddamn truth. She's so ridiculously good. It's stupid.
You look like you're about to get up and leave, Ben. It's just I can't take it anymore.
You can't. Well, David Foster went to Canada to go see this freak. He tells this story too. This little modest girl, whatever, and that voice. But that voice, the first time I heard The Power of Love, I was on my way to Canada on a Jewish community center trip with my friends on a bus. Your friends are on a bus. And we're like, what is this? It was Celine. Literally, that's what it wasn't Nirvana, it wasn't Aerosmith, it wasn't Ozzy. It was who is that voice? Celine Dion. That's true.
I love it. I am in complete agreement. Just two dudes talking about Celine Dion over here, Siobhán.
Fuck talking. Tell me about Celine.
Yeah.
Well, that sounded to me like every time we, as you know, I'm sure from watching, we get close to the end of a part of the episode, Ben has to go on his epic rant to summarize everything he's feeling at that moment. So that sounded like it to me.
I think that one's still coming, the epic one. These are the warm-up rants.
These are the warm-up rants, yeah.
Well, we have a whole other hour, hopefully, if you'll stick around with, are we paying you, on the vocal talking time, or is this violin time? Because I know what violinists get paid, but as far as a speaker, you're out of our pay grade.
That's right. We're doing both.
Yeah, you were kind enough to send us a few points here, and we have not even begun to touch some of the topics that I want to hear about. Where can people find out more about you, and is there anything immediately that you want people to know about? Chong. I guess to check out
or promote or share. Yeah,
RoddyChong.com, by the way.
Correct. Everything RODDYCHONG on the socials and RoddyChong.com. And Trans-Siberian Orchestra, we're going on tour.
It's that time of year.
I start rehearsals in a few days, and so I'm part of the basically the team, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra team kind of takes over, so that becomes what I end up marketing. If you wanted to, I'm super extroverted. I try to reply to everybody, so if anybody wants to reach out. But I guess hopefully with part 2, my hope is to help other people that are on their journey to get into their dreams, and I've been able to land a couple. So hopefully with part 2, we can talk about more of that.
Absolutely. We would be happy to do that.
We can use all the help we can get, so we'll take advantage of that. All right. Check out 2020-d.com. We'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, I fly out to LA, having a great time, and the band take me to Claudia Schiffer's husband's birthday party. And there were loads of kind of weird, famous people in there, and, some I knew, some I didn't. And Steven Tyler was one of them, and he was kind of sat there in the kind of darker side of the bar, and he had a couple of ladies with him, but they both had a hand in his trousers. And the craziest thing is he just started a conversation with me. It's just yeah, man, no, how's it going? What are you up to? You having fun? And I'm just do you want 10 minutes? Shall I come back? Am I getting in the way
here? I
can
multitask.
And he totally could multitask. He was talking to me while they were going at it. And, you know, I ended the conversation not knowing whether I should have just stayed longer just to keep talking to him. But yeah, he had a great night, I had a great night, and then we caught up afterwards, and he definitely looked a lot more relieved.